everyone, welcome. We are making my weekly challah bread. This challah bread, I got this recipe from online. I had various recipes from different friends over the years. This one just really stands out. It's just the most authentic. I'm so excited to share it with you. I try to make challah bread every Friday for my family. It's a part of our family tradition and our Jewish tradition as well. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it works out well for you too. Come along and let's make this challah bread. Some of these things I have pre-measured, as you will find is really important in any kind of baking, and baking for me has always been super overwhelming. I have found that the key to successful baking is this, measuring. So you really want to have a decent kitchen scale, and that will just be a game changer for all of your baking that you're going to do. I have here my pre-measured salt and sugar. I have our proofing yeast and our sugar. So this is going to go in some warm water. And for anyone who is a baker or used to baking, you'll know that proofing yeast is a delicate balance that needs to be done properly. And when done properly, you'll see that the yeast has proofed, and that means that it's going to work. So I say that because, and here's my warm water, you don't want it to be too hot. So I say that because I have done yeast proofing before where I just thought I combine the ingredients, so obviously it's going to work. Not necessarily. Giving that a little mix. Once you have combined your yeast, sugar, and warm water, 200 milliliters of water, warm water, I'm going to cover it and I'm going to let it proof for about 5 to 10 minutes. After about 5 to 10 minutes, your yeast proofing mixture should be like bubbly, okay? And if it doesn't look bubbly, something was off. The yeast was off, the sugar was off, the water was too hot and it scorched it. Whatever it was, you need to do it again. Otherwise, that yeast mixture is not going to properly raise your dough. I am not a seasoned baker. I am not a professional baker by any stretch of the imagination. However, this I have learned through trial and failure many times. It's taken me a while to feel more confident in my challah baking. I've also tried to make bread rolls and other things. The key is to really have properly proofed yeast. So we'll see what this looks like in a few minutes. I feel like it's always a mystery to me. I don't know why. It's so mysterious. Next is your dry ingredients. So this recipe calls for 1 whole kilo of bread dough, and this is our bread flour. And this is because I am making a very large, a kilo of flour is quite a bit, but this is because I'm making for a lot of people. We're having a big Friday night dinner, and everyone likes challah bread. And worst comes to worst, we have some leftover and we can make some French toast over the weekend. By the way, if you happen to be in Germany, you might know that there are all kinds of different flours, and I had to look up a separate video about which flour works best for baking. So some are better for baking cake and some are better for baking bread and other things. And if you know about Germans take their bread and baking very seriously. So they have all kinds of different flours. It's by number. So you'll see here, it says type 550. So that's the one that's the best for bread baking, especially for challah bread. Having a peek at my yeast proofing, and it's getting bubbly. So that's a really good sign. Here, I'm going to show you what it should look like. So I have my 1 kilo of flour. Now to that, I'm going to be measuring all of this at the same time. So we're going to do it very carefully together. I need 165 grams of oil. I use this beautiful extra virgin. I'm using an old bottle. We've been ordering this olive oil. It comes straight from Spain and it's the good stuff. It's very high quality, delicious olive oil. Perfect. Yep, my yeast is proofing, which makes me so happy. A part of this recipe as well is that I want to put in each ingredient and mix. So I'm going to go ahead and put the salt and the sugar into the flour and mix it. And then between each egg as well, you mix again. So it's a very kind of regimented recipe is part of the reason why it works so well. Follow this strict procedure and then therefore you're guaranteed a good outcome. And I have gotten good outcomes from this recipe, so I can vouch for that. All right, there's the salt and sugar. I'm gonna put in one egg at a time. First egg. So you wanna put in the egg and then give it a mix. Second egg. And egg number 3. I remember once at university, I went through to the Jewish community when there was like a challah bread baking event. And it just seemed, at the time, it seemed so overwhelming and such a big deal. It's like it takes hours and you have to wait for it to rise and then you have to knead it again and then you have to braid it and then you have to wait between braiding it and kneading it. It just seemed like such a big deal. I remember thinking in my head, this is a very nice tradition, but I'm never going to do it. And now look at me. Now I'm doing it. By the way, my yeast proofing looks amazing. I'm adding my oil. Here we are. This has the eggs, the salt, the sugar, and now my oil. I'm going to add the warm water. The important thing is when it says warm water, make sure it's warm and not too hot because the heat will kill it. So 195 grams of warm water, 95, exactly. I'm gonna add my yeast proof mixture. So this is what it's meant to look like, okay? Before it was 200 ml, which is down here. So this is all bubble and that's what you want. So go ahead and add that to my flour. Often we'll pour the warm water that I'll be adding. I usually pour it from the same cup just to make sure all the yeast is in there. That might not be necessary, but that's how my brain works. So I'm just mixing this mixture. It's very thick. Really starting to feel more like dough. And we're gonna go ahead and add our warm water. That's the last thing I'm adding. I am going to cover this and let it do its kind of initial thing, little rising for about half an hour, okay? This properly mixed. You want to make sure there's no kind of leftover flour at the bottom. Make sure it's all been incorporated. I was actually thinking to include my daughter in this video, but I needed to get the challah bread done earlier and she's at school. She actually loves to cook with me and she loves to bake with me and by herself, but I think it's definitely a mother-daughter activity that we've been doing since she could stand up in the kitchen, really. We really enjoy it together. I've tried to teach her everything I know because I know that cooking and baking is really years in the making. If you just learn tips along the way, you get recipes that work for you, and it just takes a bit of time to get used to. But then it's really worth it. So I just put a little bit of oil on my hands just so they're not totally dry. And you see I have my dough here. Just gonna kind of try to make sure it's incorporated. I'm not doing a full kneading. I'm just kind of making sure it's all together. And then I'm gonna cover it. You could also do this with a bread machine. I know a lot of people started making sourdough during COVID. I think I was doing banana bread. That's my dough. It looks amazing. It smells great. I'm going to cover it and I'm going to let it rise for about half an hour. Make sure to cover your dough. It should stay very warm so that it's able to rise properly. Double towel it, and then my beautiful bowls that Avi got me, they have lids. So really well just to keep it nice and cocooned in there so it rises properly. I usually put plastic wrap under the towels in case it rises and touches. I don't want it to touch the towel and then it just sticks. I'm just gonna pop this on. So I have my plastic wrap on my bowl, cover it with the 2 towels. Guys, here's my finished product. It's going to rise for about half an hour and then I'll see you back. Hi, we are back just briefly. So now what we're gonna do is you just want your dough to kind of settle. I'm gonna put some olive oil on my fingertips. Your dough should be big and mushy. So basically I'm just gonna incorporate it a bit more. This is really all the kneading you're gonna have to do. This is a very kind of no-knead recipe. I'm going to be putting a little bit of olive oil on the bottom of my bowl to cushion my dough while it's doing its real rise. But then you want to have your dough on a clean surface. Give it a relatively brief kneading. You'll see that basically you want your dough to become very stretchy. And if you've never kneaded dough before, all you really need to know is that you want to use your palms. So just kind of fold it back towards you and then palm. Fold, palm, fold, palm. And you don't need to overcomplicate it. I've Googled so many times, best way to knead dough. And so that's definitely going to rise. And don't think about it too much. Don't make the same mistake that I made. So you just want to have a nice kind of, almost like it moves on its own, kind of soft ball that will just kind of stretch and fall on its own. And that's what you want to put back in your bowl. And that's it. Don't even over knead it. I have made that mistake. That is it. It's going to be nice and warm. Cling wrap back on. I'm going to put my towels back on. It's going to sit for about, the recipe calls for an hour and a half. I don't know how necessary that is, but that's what the recipe calls for. In an hour and a half's time, we will be braiding the challah, and then after that, it will go into the oven. Next time we come back, we're going to braid our challah, and then it's going to be ready to go into the oven. And you should have your oven preheated to either 200 degrees Celsius or 392 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll see you then. Okay, everyone, we are back with our challah. I have given it plenty of time to rise. As you can see, it has doubled in size. So this dough should weigh about 2 kilos now. So it's really grown. Okay, so you're going to uncover it. You can put a little bit of olive oil on your fingertips. It's a little mix of olive oil and water. Nothing crazy. Just for when you're dealing with it, you want a clean work surface, which this is. I just wiped it down. And you can just like punch the dough. Like, look how it shrinks. Just punch it. Okay, go ahead and take it out. Don't be shy. You do want to keep that cling wrap that I just threw aside and probably shouldn't have, because while you're working with the dough and braiding some of it, because this can make many challahs, by the way. This is not just for one. And while you're braiding some of it, you want to keep everything you haven't done covered. You don't want it to start to dry out. I mean, you're not really at risk of that. We're talking like a short amount of time, but here we go. Look at this beautiful, beautiful, wonderful, perfect challah dough. I am going to cut it into pieces. So first I'm going to cut it in half because I'm making probably 2 large challahs. Okay, and I'm going to just wrap this in cling wrap. The one I'm not working with right now. And I'm going to set it aside. Okay, I brought some cling wrap and I brought an aluminum tray so I can put to the side the pieces that I am not directly working with. You just kind of figure out stuff along the way. I've tried other things that just don't work as well. I am going to make this I haven't even thought about it, maybe an 8 braided challah. So I'm going to cut this into 8 pieces. You want to make it as even as possible, okay? 2, 3, I think the first one I did was quite big. 4, 5, 6, yeah, 7, 8, maybe not. I am going to keep 2 out at a time and cover the rest with cling wrap, okay? So the ones I'm working with, basically what you want to do, just flatten it out and roll it out, and just start in the middle and kind of roll your hands outwards. And I don't necessarily want a very long challah, but I want a very kind of nice big plump one. So you're going to want to put these laid out like a star. Any air bubbles you want to get rid of, just kind of press down extra. So here are 2. I'm going to do 2 more. In a moment, I'm going to show you what this looks like. This is just 4 on one side. All right. So then I'm going to do the 4 on the other side. All right, 2. I mean, this dough just kind of like makes itself. It just kind of does everything automatically. But I've tried many dough recipes, and this one I just find to be the absolute most seamless. All right, guys, that's what you want it to look like. Now I'm going to show you how to braid the challah. Very, very simple. You want to take, so you have your strands here. Imagine them counted 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what you do is take number 2, put it directly across the other side, and then you take 1 and put it in the middle. Okay, and then you're going to do that for the other side. The second one, so 1, 2, directly across, and then number 1 in the middle. 1, 2, 2 across, then 1 in the middle. 1, 2, 2 across, and then number 1 in the middle. You will see how it starts to form a braid. 2 across, and you can readjust as you go. You can readjust your strands. I know it starts to get weird, but once you get the hang of this, guys, I'm telling you, it's like ridiculously easy. 2 across, 1 in the middle. And again, adjust your strands. You want to keep like plenty of space. 1 down the middle. I could literally do another video just on how to do the braid. First one down the middle. This side has to be in the middle, so you see it's middle here, and I have 1, 2, 3 on each side. Sometimes the braid is where people kind of get lost. Across, 1 down the middle. Second across, 1 down the middle. And at the end, you just kind of finish it up. You keep doing the same pattern, but just kind of do it quickly and don't worry about it being perfect, if you know what I mean. When you see, just slowly, you have this beautiful looking challah, and it's gonna look a little kind of small and deflated, but it is still rising. And it's gonna be perfect. Across, 1 down the middle, second across, middle. And you're gonna end up tucking your strands. Okay, I'm just braiding right off the table now. We are almost there. 1 down the middle. All right, everyone. At the end, don't worry too much about how it goes. You can tuck it right under. I suggest you have your baking paper ready to go, so you can just pop your challah right on top. Look at this beautiful thing. Check that out. So I didn't really mean to make it like a moon, crescent moon, but that is what we have, because it was longer than I thought it would be. Crescent, beautiful crescent challah. And now I have my whole second one. So I'm just going to repeat the same process. I actually decided for fun, which I actually end up doing this every single week, so I don't know why I'm acting surprised. I'm going to use half of this to make little challah rolls, which I think kids find really fun, and we usually like to slice them and toast them up later. It's really fun. And then I'm going to make another pretty large challah with what's left from that, because this is a very, this recipe just yields a lot. Or you can make some kind of smaller challahs and bring some to neighbors. I mean, everyone likes fresh baked bread. Like, it's, you know, it literally makes everyone happy. So maybe I'll just make 3 mini ones. You guys, I'm not a planner. I do not plan. You can have lots of kids and not be that organized. I'm telling you, I do it all the time. Or I'm gonna cut this into 4 pieces. Okay, 4 pieces, and I'm gonna braid a really simple challah. You get really kind of used to it once you've done it a few weeks in a row. It doesn't even take that long. You'll see, I'm just gonna roll these. I just heard my baby, she's been taking a nap and she's waking up. So this is good timing because I'm almost there. First one down, second one over, first one down, down, second one over, first one down, first one down. And I encourage everyone to experiment. You don't have to like do everything perfectly. Just kind of play with the recipe. Over, first one, over, down, over, down. Little challah number 1. Okay. Let me do a roll for this one so you guys can see what it looks like. I have just cut these into 4 equal pieces. What I'm going to do is roll them out as if I'm going to make a challah. Instead of making one, I am going to make it into a little snail. This is how I make it into a little snail. I literally just spiral it. Check that out. Here's a little hot crust bun. Roll these out, same story. And you can make this as thick or as thin as you like. It is completely up to you and does not matter. What I also like to do when these are ready, I like to make a glaze out of honey and butter and cinnamon. Brush them on top of a few of these buns when they come out, when they're finished. And then those are like little dessert challahs. And I mean, who doesn't love that? They are so delicious. Everyone thinks that they are great, especially the kids. There you go. Gorgeous. Beautiful little rolls. So here we go, guys. But that's going to go in the oven. It goes in at 200 degrees Celsius, so quite hot, or 392 degrees Fahrenheit. If you want to be super fancy like me, I love to do this. I like to brush some egg on top, and that just gives it that really authentic golden brown look. You want to put 1 full egg, 1 yolk. So a full egg and then a yolk. And then the egg white you can use to make your part of your lunch. That's just going to give it that delicious golden hue. So whisk that up. I'm going to brush my challah with this mixture. Here I have my very handy brush. You just kind of get it on there. And you want to really get it into the creases because your challah, like any bread, is going to rise in the oven and it will expand, and you don't want it to have these like huge missing spots. I'm just doing this on double speed right now. By the way, if you need to, you can always cook your challah, but then if you see that it's browning but also doesn't necessarily seem to be totally risen or totally finished, you can just kind of drape some aluminum foil over it, keep it from browning too much so that it can finish cooking. Just make sure that by the time it's finished cooking, it is properly browned. All right, everyone, these are ready to go in the oven. We'll see you when they're finished. And here is our final product. Here we go, a beautiful platter of challah. I hope yours turned out just as well, and I hope to see you next time. Have a great Friday night.